is up, everybody? This is Power to Women, and this is the 33rd episode, I believe. And this is a very exciting episode, as they all are, of course. But before we begin with the exciting person that I'm going to be talking about today, I want to introduce everybody to my very special friend, Alice. So this is Alice. Don't know what type of plant she is, but she's beautiful. And again, she is my brother's plant, so she is not mine, but I did name her. So I kind of feel like I'm her mother now because I gave her a name. So Alice is my baby now. So baby Alice is here to join me in talking about an amazing person who I knew about. I'm sure everyone has actively heard her name before, but I did not know the extent that she went and all the good things that she has been doing throughout her whole life. So the person I'm going to be talking about today is Greta Thunberg. So her full name is Greta Tintin Eleonora Ermin Thunberg. Big name. She was born January 3rd, 2003, and she's still alive, of course. And she is a Capricorn, which is great, which is pretty cool. So she was born in Stockholm, Sweden. So she is Swedish, which is super cool, you know what I mean? I've always wanted to go to Sweden, and I hope that one day I will be able to, but in a safe way, okay? So her parents are opera singer Malena Ermin and actor Svante Thunberg. And her grandpa was an actor and director. His name was Olaf Thunberg. So she's come from a family of people in entertainment, you could say, because her mom's a singer and her dad's an actor. So they're both in the entertainment business, which is really cool. I personally have never heard of her parents before, so I'm not sure if they're only in Sweden or if their stuff is all around the world. I'm not really sure, but I can look into that if y'all want me to. So what she's known for mostly is being a Swedish environmental activist who is known for challenging world leaders to take immediate action for climate change mitigation. So like I said, most people have heard of her because she started coming up in the news a lot a couple of years ago, discussing climate change and all that. And she's so young. She was born in 2003. That means she's only 17 years old right now, but when she was coming out in the news and talking about climate change and all that, she was only 15. She is so young in a lot of people's eyes to even be talking about climate change. I personally don't think so. I think she's probably at the right age to be talking about it, and I'm so glad that she is trying to bring the attention to politicians and to lawmakers and all those important lawmakers. She's bringing their attention to climate change because, as we all know, not a lot of people have been listening to climate change. And it's getting to the point where if we don't start listening now, we will be extinct. We will no longer be able to live on this planet. And so I'm thankful that Greta is out there trying to help the world. She's not just helping herself. She's not just trying to get her name out there and become a celebrity or anything like that. She's trying to help the whole world. That's why I don't understand when people criticize her and all that. Because, for one, she's a child. Why would you be criticizing her? And two, she's trying to save you and your home and the whole freaking planet. You know what I mean? So I just don't really understand why people would criticize her and just not like her. You know what I mean? I just don't understand. But let's continue on with how she started getting into climate change. So she first heard of climate change when she was 8. And then by 11, she was depressed. Because she said that she was looking around and nobody was doing anything about climate change. Even though all these like all these scientists and all the studies have come out that said if we don't take immediate action, we will no longer be able to live here. And so by 11, she's like, are you kidding me? Why is nobody doing anything? She was like flabbergasted. She's like, this, like, why? You know what I mean? So yeah, so she started doing stuff, you know what I mean? Before I get into that, but I want to talk about some of her medical history. So she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome and also OCD and also selective mutism. Selective mutism is basically like she only talks when it's necessary, which I didn't even know that was a thing. But she's got it, and so she has been diagnosed with these 3 disorders. But despite all of that, she's still out there giving speeches to thousands. She's talking to world leaders. She's traveling around the world trying to help climate change. So she's not letting her diagnosis stop her, which I think is super awesome. And then I encourage her to keep going and to keep fighting for all of us. You know what I mean? Because she's not just fighting for herself, she's fighting for all of us. So, yeah. Her activism officially began when she started persuading her parents to adopt a free carbon or reduce her carbon footprint is what I'm trying to say. So she actually challenged her parents to become vegan. They started upcycling and they gave up flying. And at that time, giving up flying was really hard for specifically the mother because she's an opera singer. So she flies around. I'm not sure where she flies around, but she used to fly around for her job and stuff. And because her daughter was like, we can't be flying anywhere, she actually stopped. You know what I mean? And not everybody has the liberty to just stop flying. You know what I mean? Sometimes it is your job and that's the only job you have and that's the only income that you have, But she was able to do something else and get income somewhere else. And I am just so thankful that her parents actually listened to her. You know what I mean? That's so awesome that Greta was like, you know what, we need to stop, we need to change. And her parents listened to her so well. You know what I mean? Like, they protect her, they still see her as a child, but they respect her as another human being, not just a piece of property, which I think is really important. Especially as parents, I know that a lot of parents see children as property, you know what I mean? And that's just not how it should be seen. Children are our future, you know what I mean? And children have great ideas that adults just usually shoot down because you're a child. What do you know? You know what I mean? Which is not correct because children actually know a lot, which is surprising, but they do, which is freaking awesome. And I'm excited that they're our future because smart kids is gonna lead to a smart future, which is awesome, So that whole family, her whole family actually became vegan and started doing all the things that she challenged them to do. And you can actually read about this in a book called Scenes from the Heart, and they wrote that in 2018. So you can go check that out, read their family, their family story and all that. I have not personally read it, but if you do read it or if you have read it, let me know if it's good and if I should read it, and I totally will. So she first got the idea of a climate strike, because that's how she really started getting big, was she held a strike outside of her school for 3 weeks during school hours, just holding up a sign that says "School Strike for Climate." And at first, nobody joined her because she was missing school, so a lot of teachers did not approve of that, of course. And her parents actually, they discouraged her from missing school, but they seen the importance of what she was doing, so they allowed her to miss school and go on strike. And I'm not sure if anybody joined her. I think people started joining her after a few days, kids her age, other adults and all that started joining her, which is super cool that they did that. But she got that idea to do the climate strike from the United States in February 2018. because a lot of students in February 2018 were doing strikes for school shootings. So in the United States, as we all know, in 2018, I believe that was the year that the school shootings happened. Correct me if I'm wrong. I did not do any research on that, but I do remember, like, hearing it in the news, how, like, every freaking week there was a school shooting, and I was even scared. I was scared to go to school because I was like, is this going to be the day that somebody comes in my school and shoots it? Am I going to be able to live through this? And I was terrified, and it didn't even happen to me. I couldn't imagine it happening to me, and, like, what I would do. I just couldn't imagine that. And I think the kids who went through that and survived that are so freaking strong. You know what I mean? And they deserve the world, because they were almost taken out of this world from something that shouldn't have happened. We should not have school shootings. That's ridiculous. But she got the idea to go on strike from the United States, from the kids who were striking to not go to school because they were scared. And they did not want to go back to school until lawmakers made it harder to get guns, which I full on support. I do not believe that it should be as easy as going into Walmart, getting a gun with your freaking chips and walking out. That should not be allowed. That's all I'm saying. But that's another discussion, and we're not here for it. So she started demanding that the Swedish government actually reduce their carbon emissions in accordance with the Paris Agreement. And, like, the reason she did that was because they are a part of the Paris Agreement. So she's actually called out several other countries that are in the Paris Agreement but aren't following it. Because just because you're in the Paris Agreement doesn't mean you have to follow it. It's just something that makes your country look better. So Sweden was not following it, and Greta seen that. So she called them out and was like, you know what, if you're a part of this agreement, you need to start participating in it. And I think that's really cool. And she got listens, you know what I mean? Like, the reason she got listens was because, like, views or followers or anything you want to say, was because she was actually photographed by newspapers. In one case, a organization called We Don't Have Time, founded by Igmar Retshog, was actually went and seen her when she was striking on the steps in front of the school, and he took a picture of her and stuff like that, and he actually started using her name and image to raise millions of dollars for his organization. And Greta had no idea about it. So she was not getting paid for this. She was not getting any mention that this was going on at all. But then when she did finally figure out what was happening, she, revoked her name, and she was like, you cannot use my name for any of this anymore, even though it was a cause, helping her cause, but he went about it wrong. You know what I mean? And I full on support her withdrawing her name from that, because if somebody was using my name and image to collect millions and millions of dollars, and I didn't get anything, and not that's illegal. You know what I mean? So I full on support that she did that. So she not only has talked about climate change, she also talks about several other problems in this world. So, for one example, she spoke out against the National Eligibility Entrance Test in 2020 and Joint Entrance Exam 2020 entrance exams, which are conducted in India in September. She said that it's just too hard for kids to be doing that, plus dealing with a pandemic, plus dealing with climate change. It's just too much for kids to actually be able to do this. And India actually came back at her and was like, hey, you know what, this is not your country, stay out. But I full on support her, you know what I mean? It's like, for one, I hate tests. I do not believe that tests actually test your knowledge. I believe they test your memorization. So for her to speak out against that is super awesome. But I just feel like there should be no exams at all. But I'm not in education, I'm not in any of that, so I can't make those laws. But if I was me, no test for everyone. So she's also, like I said, given numerous speeches about climate change and all that. But one specific, her speech during the preliminary session of the 2018 United States Climate Change Conference went viral. She commented that the world leaders present were not mature enough to tell it like it is, which I think is ballsy, for one, and for two, freaking amazing that she's calling people out. You know what I mean? I freaking love how she's just like a little girl. She's going around and she's like, I'm calling you out, I'm calling you out, I'm calling you out. I think it's just so freaking funny, you know what I mean? And I think it's so cool that she has enough confidence to do that, because me, at what, she was probably like 17, well, she was 15 at that age. I could not imagine myself at 15 standing up in front of world leaders and being like, you're not mature enough to tell it how it is. I don't think I have the guts to do that, but that's awesome that she's doing that, because somebody needs to, you know? Somebody needs to tell it how it is, and Greta's doing that, which is freaking amazing. Another example of one of her speeches that I wanted to mention was her speech at the UN Climate Action Summit in New York on the 23rd of September in 2019. So I'm going to read this quote that she said. So this is her words. She said, "This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet I am one of the lucky ones? People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?" When I read that, I got chills. I was like, wow, how dare you? You know what? I feel that, though. I really do. All these lawmakers, all these people are talking about, oh, we gotta do this to help the economy. Oh, we gotta get this to make this money. No, we don't. Just stop. We need to be helping this freaking planet, because if not, like she said, we're going extinct. You know what I mean? And so I'm just so glad that she freaking did that. But still, not a lot of people are listening to her, which is really sad. But before we move on from that, a part of that little speech said that she's supposed to be on the other side of the ocean. So like I said earlier, she actually has given up flying. So she sails around the world. So she took a yacht to come over in America during that time. But there's been several other instances, like one time she needed to get to a meeting that was supposed to happen in Spain, but it actually got moved, or it was supposed to happen in Chile, but because Chile was having some problems with their government and all that, they decided to move it to Spain. And it was very short notice, and because of that, like, she was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. Does anybody have a boat that can sail me to Spain? And, like, these two Australians who have been sailing around the world were like, hey, yeah, I got a boat. Come sail with us. And they actually took her over to Spain, which is super cool. And I was like, that's so freaking awesome, you know what I mean? She just was like, hey, anybody got a boat I could borrow? But I full on support her, like, not flying, because flying is really bad for the environment. It really is. I have only personally flown once in my life, and well, it was a couple times, but just like one trip. You know, I flew out to, I believe it was Virginia, and then flew back with my family when I was like 10 or something like that. So that's like the only experience I've ever had with flying. But hearing that, I don't know if I ever want to fly again, just because it is so bad for the environment. And until we are able to come up with a safer and more environmentally friendly airplane, I'm just not sure I'm going to be flying anywhere anytime soon. But I'll probably take a yacht somewhere, my own personal yacht, you know, parked it in the back. No, I'm just kidding. I wish. Wouldn't that be freaking awesome? So, like I said, she doesn't only talk about climate change, she talks about everything. And she's actually talked in a couple of cities that indigenous people used to live, and she acknowledges that, which I think is really cool. So this is her quote saying, In acknowledging the enormous injustices inflicted upon these people, we must also mention the many enslaved and indentured servants whose labor the world still profits from today. So she acknowledges everybody, and she acknowledges their work that they put in, and they're just them, which I think is really cool that she's pointing that out, because I know, for one, several presidents have spoken around the United States during their little campaigns, and I personally have never heard any single one of those presidents ever say anything about indigenous people. So I think that's really cool that she did that, even though our political figures aren't. So maybe we should be looking at changing up our political figures and getting some new people in there and who have good ideas, But that's just my opinion, and you bet your butt I'm gonna be voting about that opinion. So on the 29th of December in 2020, during a BBC interview, she said that climate experts are not being listened to despite the COVID-19 pandemic highlighting the importance of using science to address such issues. So, like scientists have been out in the public saying that we need to do some change to the climate for years, for decades. It's been like 30, 40 years that they have been putting this out in the news saying, like, hey, we need to be, doing something about climate, we need to start changing it, and nobody has been listening. But for some reason, people believe in science, but not climate change science? And then the COVID-19 pandemic came around. That's why she brought that up, because a lot of people are looking to the science for COVID-19. And so everyone's looking to the science. But still, nobody looks to the science for climate change. I don't understand that, but I hope people start looking at the science. So she added that the COVID-19 crisis has shown a light on how we cannot make it without science. And I full on believe that. So, start looking at the science, people. Start paying attention in science class, okay? And if you're not in class, just start paying attention to science, So in May 2021, she addressed the COVID-19 crisis again when she urged a change in the food production system and the production of animals and their habitats. Her comments, which came amidst calls for meat-free alternative, also addressed health concerns regarding animal welfare and the environment. She said that the way humans are destroying habitats are the perfect conditions for the spread of diseases, which makes total sense, you know what I mean? She has made, connections between, animal welfare and their disease, and then she looks at ours and she's like, it looks very similar, you know what I mean? But I think it's really cool that she's focusing on animals too, and not just people, but she's looking at animals too, because you know me, I love them animals. And I'm just glad she's one of those people too. We're both vegans. Woo! What's up, Greta? You know what, Greta, if you're listening, Greta, which I'm sure you are. No, I'm just kidding, you probably aren't. But if you are, hit me up. Hit your girl up. We can talk about some vegan recipes, which would be awesome. So on August 9th, 2021, it was announced that she would be featured in the inaugural edition of the Vogue Scandinavia. So she's been on the cover of Vogue, which is awesome. But she also criticizes the promotional campaigns the fashion industry uses to appear sustainable without actually doing anything to protect the environment, and called the campaigns greenwashing. So she's not only calling out political figures, she's calling out fashion people, which I think is awesome, because as we all know, the clothing industry is one of the biggest freaking wasters of everything, biggest contributors to climate change in the world. Clothing is just a very bad industry, and we just waste it all. It takes millions to produce, millions of gallons of water to produce clothing, and then we just wear it once, throw it away. A lot of people do. Not all, but a lot of people do. But that should tell us, go to your local thrift store and start thrifting. And I'm super glad that thrifting is, like, coming back. I know, like, back when I was a kid, it was not cool at all. Like, I remember when my family kind of went through a hard time financially and we had to actually go back to school shopping at the thrift stores. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I can't be seen in here. But now it's like, it's so cool to do that, you know? Gonna go down to the thrift store, get me a thrifted outfit, and it's seen as cool now, which I really like this trend, and I hope this stays up because that's awesome. And I like going thrifting. You know, that's pretty cool. It's awesome. You get to see a lot of different kinds of stuff in just one place. And I really like that. So she has also inspired a number of school-age peers to do what is described as the Greta effect, which I think is really cool. And, like, she has her own effect, which is cool, you know. But she's an amazing person, and because she's an amazing person, she's seen as an amazing person, and she has gotten numerous awards, which I think is really cool. So she has received the Honorary Fellowship of the Royal Scottish Geographical Society, the inclusion in Time's 100 Most Influential People, being the youngest Time Person of the year. Also, inclusion in the Forbes list of the world's 100 most powerful women of 2019, and 3 consecutive nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize, which is freaking amazing. She's so young and she's gotten all these awards. I'm so freaking excited to see what she does as she grows up, you know, because I'm sure she's not going to stop talking about it, because I'm sure climate change is always going to be not a problem, I hope it's not a problem forever, but I'm sure it's still going to be talked about in the future. And I'm glad that she's in the spotlight to be able to talk about that and to be able to spread awareness about climate change and how we can make a difference, which is what we need, you know what I mean? So she has gotten several awards, which is awesome, you know what I mean? And her one message to everybody that she really wants to get out is, and I quote, "My message is to the Americans is the same as to everyone. That is to unite behind the science and to act on the science." She believes in science. Who doesn't? I believe in science. Do you believe in science? I hope you do, because science is science, you know what I mean? It's real. And we need to be actually looking at it and actually looking into the climate change science, you know what I mean? And actually listening to it. Not just looking, not just like listening, just actually taking action on that science too. You know, we need to be doing something about climate change, because like I said, if we don't do something now, we might not have a later. You know, it's not, oh, we'll get to it later. We might not have that. And I'm sad to say that, and I've really been looking at my actions and what I've been doing and the things that I can change to help the environment. So I'm gonna stop buying clothing from all stores besides thrift stores. So if I want a new piece of clothing, I'm gonna go thrift it. Second, I have committed to taking short showers. It's hard, but 5-minute shower at most. I'm doing this because I believe that this will help. I know that, like I think I said this last episode, even if you take out all the water from the whole world, if you like use all the water, like the water that everybody uses, like in America, just in America, but like the world for like everyday uses, is only 20% of the water waste, like of the world. So like the biggest contributors are the industries, but that's still 20% that I'm contributing to. So I believe that if I just help out a little bit, you know, it's just take a couple minutes less in your shower. Don't let the water run while you're doing the dishes. Just little simple things like that that can really make a change, you know. And I'm also going to try to plant more trees. So if y'all remember last episode, I talked about how planting trees is one of the best ways to help climate change. I still stand by that. So yeah, and I also want to encourage everybody to limit your flying. If you can, don't fly. Like if you can drive or if you can walk, I'm sure you're not going to take a plane if you could walk somewhere, you know, that was stupid. But if you can do something, if you can take a different transportation, do it. instead of flying, because flying's really bad for the environment. But yeah, so that was Greta. I hope everybody enjoyed. She's an amazing person, and I can't wait to see what she does next. She is so young, and she has so many ideas. She's brilliant. She's a brilliant young woman, and I'm excited to see where she goes. And I'm excited to see her grow up. You know what I mean? I'm going to be sitting here when I'm 30, and I'm probably going to be talking about her again, because by that time she's going to be 27, because she's 3 years younger than me. And she's probably done amazing things by then. You know, I can't wait. And I hope we're still around when I'm 30 or when I'm 40 or 50, you know, and I hope we actually do make a change on climate change. But yeah, so that was Greta, and let's get into the positive segment time. Woo! So today I have a pre-read one, so I'm just going to read it. So the EU unveils sweeping climate change plan. This month, the European Union, EU, announced their plan to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. The plan includes several bold proposals to Parliament, such as plans to tax jet fuel, ban the sale of petrol and diesel-powered cars within 20 years. While by governmental and society standards, this plan seems like it has intentions to make big impacts. Environmentalists like Greta Thunberg are still pushing for more drastic change, saying that unless the EU leers up its proposals, the world will not stand a chance of staying below 1.5 Celsius of global heating. But hey, better to have a conversation moving and some sort of action taking place. So, yeah, so there's that, you know, the European Union is coming up with plans to do that. And like, I hope they actually follow through, because I think that's super important that they do. And I hope that they take that carbon neutrality and change it to negative carbon. We need to start moving into a negative carbon society, because we have produced so much carbon that even going carbon neutrality will not help us, which is very sad. If you think about it, no matter, even if we stop producing carbon, we're still gonna be messed up, because we have put that much out there, which is so freaking sad. But if we actually start reducing our impact and our footprint, we can actually make a change. And I encourage all of you to do that. I encourage myself to do that. And I encourage the whole world to do that, because I think that's really important to be helping the climate. Because you know what? This is our home. We need to be taking care of it. Okay? So that was a positive segment time, and that was the episode. I really hope everybody enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun learning about Greta and all the fun things that she has been doing and all the important things that she has been doing. And I just hope that she keeps going. Keep doing what you're doing, Greta. Thank you for fighting for the whole world, and thank you for caring, and thank you for just keep pushing and pushing on, you know what I mean? So just thank you. Thank you. So I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. As always, you can find this episode on all podcasting mediums, and you can find this podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Power to Women. Woohoo! Also, if you want to go check out my other podcast that I do with my brother called the 5 Cent Club, we just kind of talk about stuff that doesn't make sense, and it's a really fun podcast that I really like to do. Also, if you want to go check out my personal Instagram page at EmilyNichols00, that'd be awesome. And my personal Twitter page at YoungEmily1864. As always, everybody, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Stay safe out there. Fight against climate change. Be grateful for the world. Look around you and just care about it. Because if you don't care, you won't be able to look around anymore, because we're going to be dead. The planet will not be here. The world will burn and we won't be here. And it's going to be so freaking sad, but I'm very, very optimistic that we are going to be making a change and that we are going to turn this around. And I know, because there's people like Greta in this world who are fighting for this. And there's people like me talking about it, trying to fight about it. And there's people like you listening about it and going to be fighting about it. So we're all going to be fighting climate change. So thank you, everybody, for fighting climate change. And I hope it works well. But stay safe out there, okay? Wash your hands, stay healthy so you can keep fighting. Have an amazing rest of your week. I will talk to you next time. Peace and aliens be with you.